I want to tell you a quick little story about my first out of body experience. Now, I've had some out of body experiences where I've been awake and then start to fall asleep, and all of a sudden I'm not in my body. But this was the first one I ever had where I was wide awake at the time. So I'm laying in bed sleeping. I wake up and I hear the words, face toward God. And I knew what that meant instinctively. I just knew that it meant to lie on my back. I put my hands across my chest. And I lay there and I said, God, I'm listening. I had my eyes closed now. The eyelids are closed, but I'm meditating. And I'm looking around in the shadows of my eyes, and I'm seeing little bits of light and movement here and there, and I'm hearing like voices far off. And all of a sudden, I feel like I'm lifting a little bit, and I feel this very uplifting feeling. I don't know what the exact word for it is, but I'm lifting, and I feel my head tilting back, though I know I'm lifting into my spirit, so I don't know why my head's tilting back, but it did. And as I felt my head tilting, I felt things moving quicker, and boom, I was up in my spirit just that quick. I mean, the whole thing took maybe a matter of 5 minutes at most. And I went from hearing the words to being lifted in my spirit. And there were no physical boundaries I had to pass through. I was in what I would call just kind of like space. There wasn't a tunnel. It was just space. As a matter of fact, I opened my eyes. I felt like I was opening my eyes to look to see what was going on. And it's kind of dark. And I'm looking through what I assume is my spirit eyes. And I also felt like I was riding atop my body. Like the magic carpet type thing. It didn't make sense to me, but I'm going with it. But then I started getting a little worried, because I've been traveling for a while, and I'm not seeing any light. I thought, why am I in so much darkness? Is Jesus bringing me to see hell, maybe? And it was frightening. It's just a lesson, because I don't think I'm dead. And I had to keep telling myself, trust Jesus. And then I saw this light, and it kind of reflected against the darkness. And it was over the top of me, because I'm kind of looking up now, and it circles me, kind of like the moon circles the sun. And before I could digest what that all meant, all of a sudden I was in this room. It was a brightly lit room, and I feel like I'm with body. I'm laying on my back. I'm kind of looking up, and there's this guy sitting there next to me on the floor. And he's a jovial looking fella. I mean, I'm not frightened of him by any means. And we were in this room, and the walls aren't like a wall you have in your house. These walls, like, you could see there were walls there, but if you wanted to, you could probably stick your hand right through there and out the other side. So there's walls there, but it's just like a weird dimension of walls. And inside of this so-called room, behind this fella, there's this large evergreen tree. And I'm like, that's strange. It's not like it didn't have any decorations on it. Just a large evergreen tree was there. And I'm like, well, maybe they know I really love evergreen trees, and they put one in this image to make me feel comfortable. I don't know really why it was there. There was a door off to the side of the evergreen tree, and a little light switch over by the door. And I just assume that this is an angel. This man is an angel sitting next to me. And he points to my stomach. And he says,
God is here with you in your spirit. But you need to focus more on what's up there.
And when he said that, this globe appears right before him. I would say it was probably a good 12 inches round, and literally like a ball. And inside of that ball, there was an image of a castle, and I could see gold and different things. It was a very beautiful castle. And of course, I'm assuming this is heaven. And when he says there, he's talking about focusing on heaven and focus much less on earthly things. And I was having quite a bit of thought going through my head on what that really meant to me. And suddenly, though, I was like, what was that? Something brushed up against me. And then there was something else, and I was like, what the? And I realized there's some flies in the room. And more flies, and I just really being festy. And I glanced past the angel, and I see the light switch over there by the door. And I'm like, I just got to get to that light switch, because if I flick the light switch, that'll change things. It'll be done. So I kind of crawled over there, so to speak. I don't know. I made my way to that light switch, and I flicked it on. I turned around, and I looked at the angel, and he was still sitting there. Not quite so. He didn't seem quite so jovial this time, but he was just sitting there looking at me, kind of peaceful like. There was flies all over the room by this time, and they weren't going anywhere near him. They weren't bothering him for a second. And as I stood there looking at that angel, everything started to fade into darkness. Just faded and went away. And then I was back in my bed staring at the ceiling, still wide awake. And I was praying, thinking maybe it'll come back, maybe I'll get a second chance at trying to do what was right. Because I had a sudden feeling of shame. I was feeling like I let them down. I didn't trust in Jesus, and I had to go to the light, because that light of the room was an earthly thing that I thought I was familiar with, versus just trusting in Jesus, that his light would protect me. I had given in to my flesh fears, and I felt awful about it. It's been many months now, and it's never happened again. But I've learned to accept that it was a lesson for me to learn. Yeah, maybe I didn't shine, that's for sure. But I learned something. And I told myself, if something like that ever comes around again in my lifetime, I'm going to make better choices. I'm going to trust Jesus. And that's a hard thing to do every day in the life we live. And that's it for that out-of-body experience. And I appreciate you taking your time to check out these Search for Heaven videos, and hope that you find something useful with them. And if you like them, hit the subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button. Tell me you like it by hitting the like button if you like it. Leave some comments. Maybe you had an experience too, out of body or whatnot. Please share in the remarks below. Thank you much, and blessings to you all.